Sorry. So today, let's start the second part. So here, we are going to consider two models, curved strips in the plane, and curved strips and the strips on rolled surfaces. So here, although the first case can be seen as a particular case of the second one, I would like to talk about it separately. And then after, I will talk about the strips on rolled surfaces. So, just to start, we are going to give a formal definition of the kinds of regions that we are going to consider today. So here, we start with a curve in the plane, an unbounded curve, gamma. For this curve, we assume that it possesses a Fresnel frame, so at each point, it has the tangent and the normal vector. Here, a notation that we are going to use a lot today. So here we denote by K the curvature of this curve. So the construction of the strip, so here you have our curve. At each point, we have the tangent and the normal vector, and then we fix a segment of length epsilon, and this segment will move along gamma, so that at each point of gamma, this segment is always parallel to the normal vector at each point. So, performing this idea, at the end, we obtain a region like that. I think this picture is much better. So here we are working with strips with uniform width. And this kind of regions that we call of curved strips. So here you have omega epsilon, a parametrization of these regions. So here you have our reference curve, gamma S, and here we have our transversal variable, y. Y is in the interval from 0 to 1, and we add this parameter epsilon in this part. So after I start showing the results, I would like to remember this notation. It will be appear a lot of today. So here, if you have T, a self-adjoint operator, bounded from below, we use this notation, lambda J of T, to denote the values given by the minimax principle. So here we have the same problem as we saw yesterday. So here we have the problem with the transverse directions. So the idea is to work with this sequence of operators. So we renormalize the operator, and from that we can find an effective operator. So here I will start with the Laplacian with Dirichlet boundary conditions, and in the same model, after we are going to consider Dirichlet-Neumann boundary conditions. So the first result that I would like to mention comes from this paper by Eschner and Duclos and Eschner. So here the authors found out asymptotic behavior for the values given by the minimax principle. So for each j, lambda j of our original operator sorry. Okay, sorry. So here we have this asymptotic expression. In this expression on the right side, here we have this term, which is exactly the terms that comes from of the renormalization. And here you have the values given by the minimax principle of this one-dimensional operator. So this operator, we can see it has the effective operator in this situation, and we see that it is not only the Laplacian, it carries out this potential. We have attractive potential that depends on the curvature of the curve. So that depends on the curvature of the curve. And from this asymptotic behavior, we can, as a consequence, we can note some interesting properties. So here, today I won't comment so much about the regularities, but the thing is that under the conditions of this paper, we can assure that, sorry, I am confused with this control. We can assure that the curvature goes to 0 at the infinity. Geometrically, this means that our strip is asymptotically straight at the infinity, and in this case, we have control what happens with the essential spectrum. So the essential spectrum is given by this interval. This value is exactly the first eigenvalue of the problem on the transverse direction. And then, if we are in the situation that the curvature is non-null, we can use this asymptotic behavior to assure the existence of discrete eigenvalues since epsilon is small enough. To see that, so here we have, for the effective operator, we can assure that at least its first eigenvalue is negative. So if you fix j equal 1, the asymptotic behavior says us that this equation holds, and then since lambda 1 of the effective operator is negative, this difference will be negative, then we'll have lambda 1 of the Laplacian in omega epsilon is less than P2 over epsilon 2. As this value is the infimum of the essential spectrum, so we can prove that there exists at least one discrete eigenvalue. So, still about this model, I would like to comment about this other paper. Okay. Kreshcherik and Sedlakova. So here they proved that, in fact, this is the effective operator. So here they proved this convergence from the norm resolvent sense, assuming less regularity for the curve. And the method used here is based on the method of Friedlander and Solomiak, as we saw yesterday. So now I will use the same model to consider the Dirichlet-Neumann Laplacian in these regions. So here, we are going to consider Dirichlet boundary conditions in this part of the boundary on the reference curve, the curve that generates the strip, and in the boundary of the opposite side, we call it gamma epsilon. We are going to consider Neumann boundary conditions. So here, this geometry, differently from the Dirichlet case, this geometry, the sign of the curvature, will have an impact in the effective operator. So at first, we can note that if K is positive, the curvature, if in some point the curvature is positive, the Dirichlet boundary is locally bigger than the Neumann boundary. And if K is negative, the Dirichlet boundary is locally shorter than the Neumann boundary. So at the end, we will see that these signs will have an impact in the effective operator. So now, here we have the same problem. When epsilon goes to 0, we need to renormalize the operator to obtain a significant limit when epsilon goes to 0. So here we subtract the first eigenvalue of the problem on the transverse direction. So here our transverse problem is the Dirichlet-Neumann Laplacian in the interval from 0 to epsilon. So here we have this characterization of the spectrum in this case, and here we subtract the first eigenvalue. So by working with this sequence, so here I'd like to mention this result from Krzyzek. Sorry. So in this paper, he found this asymptotic behavior for the values given by the minimax principle. So here, for each j in this expression, we have this value that comes from the renormalization, and here we have the values given by the minimax principle of this one-dimensional operator. So this one-dimensional operator, here we have the Laplacian acting in R, and you have this term that depends on the curvature, but we don't have an effective operator in the usual sense, because here we still have a dependence on epsilon. But we can reduce our problem to study these operators. So in this semi-paper, so here it was noted there for each j, this sequence of values given by the minimax principle can be written in this expression, so we have another asymptotic behavior. From this asymptotic behavior, we can note that it doesn't depend on J. So this doesn't mean that the how values are the same, but I think it means that how the values are collapsing around one point. So then if you come, what? Okay, you.
So for the 1D problem, it may not have eigenvalues, the 1D operator.
Here, for
This one,
this one.
it may have only
Okay. So here we are going to analyze the sign of the curvature.
yes, but for
Be-
the moment you didn't say anything about the sign of the curvature.
No, at the moment not.
And in the next slide, what
So
in the next slide,
this?
now they have. Okay, so if there are no eigenvalues, the infimum of k over epsilon is lower bound of the essential spectrum.
Because we are going to analyze this in the limit when epsilon is small enough. Yeah, yes, if you fix the epsilon, okay, but at the limit we have this asymptotic behavior.
I think the point is lambda j is not necessarily an eigenvalue. It's one of these Rayleigh numbers.
Yes, but if it is a min max and the k is strictly positive, then it stops at 0.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So here now we have this new asymptotic behavior. So we note that it doesn't depend on J. And here I think I put some more details. So here, what these results say to us? If you assume that the curvature goes to 0 at the infinity, we have our strip is asymptotically straight at the infinity, so we can find explicitly the essential spectrum. It is given by this interval. So here we have the first eigenvalue of the problem in the transverse direction. And now we are going to look at in the sign of the curvature. So if k takes a negative value, so this infimum is negative. So this difference will be negative for epsilon is small enough. And then we'll have something like this. And so you can assure the existence of discrete eigenvalues. Another point is that as this expression doesn't depend on J, so in fact we can put here any J, and for epsilon is small enough, we are going to achieve this inequality. So for this, we can conclude that the number of eigenvalues increases when epsilon goes to 0. So here I put, so here I put both results for, so you can compare. So here for the Dirichlet case, in both situations now, if we are assuming that the strips are asymptotically straight at the infinity, for the Dirichlet case, we see that a non-null curvature is enough to create discrete eigenvalues. For the Dirichlet-Neumann case, we need that the curvature assumes a negative value, so then we can create discrete eigenvalues. So this is the difference of these two models. So in the second one, we have discrete eigenvalues if our curved strip in some point, I will come back at the picture. Here we will have discrete eigenvalues if in some point the Neumann boundary is locally bigger than the Dirichlet boundary. So now we are going to the second part of this talk. We are going to consider strips on ruled surface. This picture shows an example of the kind of regions that you are going to work now. In this model, we are going to consider the Dirichlet boundary conditions and the Dirichlet-Neumann boundary conditions.
If you have just if you have a unit minimum of the curvature which is negative, then you can get separation of the bar. Because like you said here that you have like
In the previous.
yeah, in the previous slide you said that you have like you create eigenvalues, but you don't see G in the assembly.
Okay.
But if the minimum is unique, you can maybe separate these eigenvalues.
Yes, we can separate. Because, yes. Mm-hmm. So here I will talk about these two papers. So this model was introduced by the first time in this paper from Krashnik and Zaradova, where the authors introduced the model and performed the detailed study of the spectrum of the Dirichlet Laplacian, and they also found out the effective operator in that situation. And so in this paper, following the model of the Krashnik and Zaradova, we consider the same model to study the Dirichlet-Neumann Laplacian. So I will start talking about this paper. So I will define the regions as described in this article, and after I will comment a little about this other model. So here, now we consider a curve in Rn plus 1, an unbounded curve. So here it's assumed this regularity for the curve. So here we can assure the existence of the tangent vector at each point, but we can assure the existence of the Frenet frame. So, but in these semi-papers, the authors proved that it's possible to construct an adapted frame composed by the tangent vector and by n normal vector fields, n1 until nn. This frame satisfies a relation as in this system in 19. So here we have this matrix, these scalar functions. They are the curvatures of our curve, and from then we define this vector Ks with these component functions, and we call it of curvature vector. So here we can at first we can construct a strip in the same way as before. So we can parameterize a point of this strip as gamma S plus epsilon. We can fix one direction, for example, N1, S, and we have here the transverse parameter. So S is the parameter of the curve, and the T is a parameter on the interval from 0 to 1. So we can perform the same construction. But here we'll have more directions, so we can perform different deformations. So while the segment translates along the curve, the segment can twist it. So here, to obtain this effect, you can introduce this vector theta s with these functions, with these components, and then we call this vector of twisting vector, and we define this new normal field n theta s by using the twisting vector and the normal fields given by the adapted frame. And then we come back here, and you can replace this vector for any theta s. So we obtain new effects on the strip. So here we have the parameterization of our regions. So to continue, I think here we have some definitions. So here, about the geometry of these regions. It's possible to see that k theta is the geodesic curvature of gamma, the reference curve. And this term that depends on theta prime is the Gauss curvature of our strip. This function that appears here, f epsilon, has this expression, and it depends on k theta and theta prime. Some definitions: if theta prime is equal 0, so you have omega epsilon is called a purely bent strip, so we don't have a twisted effect. So here, if k theta is equal 0, we call omega epsilon by a purely twisted strip. And if theta prime and k theta is equal 0, we have a flat strip. So here I have some pictures. I took all these pictures from David articles. I stole it from him. And here we have some examples. So here we have a strip purely bent. So it is a planar strip. So here we have a purely twisted strip. Here we have a flat strip. So a flat strip doesn't need it to be a straight strip, as in this sense. So this is a flat strip for us. And here in these three pictures, we have strips very similar, but in the first case, the strip is twisted and bent. In the second one, it is purely bent, and in the third one, it is purely twisted. So these are the kinds of strips that we are going to consider now. So until now, we see our strips has a surface in the Euclidean space Rn plus 1. To define precisely the Laplacian in these regions, we needed to take care about some points, and so in fact is that it's possible to prove that our regions can be identified with an Riemannian manifold, which is lambda. Lambda is R times the interval from 0 to 1, and the Riemannian metric here is given by the function f epsilon that appeared before. So now we pass to see our regions has Riemannian manifolds, and here we consider the Laplace-Beltrame operator. So the problem now is well posed. So just to recall the expression of f epsilon. So f epsilon is given by 23 here. And now it's clear the definition of flat strips. A strip is flat in the sense that if you have these terms equal 0, we have the metric equal 1, it coincides with the Euclidean metric. So the strip is flat in this sense, in the sense that the metric is equal 1. So now some more regularity conditions, and finally I can present the first result about this model. So for each j, it's found this asymptotic behavior for the values given by the minimax principle. So in this expression, we have this term that comes from of the renormalization, and here we have the values given by the minimax principle of this one-dimensional operator, the Laplacian, plus a potential that depends on k theta and theta prime, depends on the bend effect and the twisting effect. This result is obtained from a convergence in the norm resolvent sense, so has proved in the paper. So as a consequence, we have this asymptotic behavior. From this asymptotic behavior, we can make some remarks. For example, if you have a strip purely twisted, so this term doesn't exist in the expression. Then we have repulsive potential, so we don't have discrete eigenvalues. On the other hand, if you have a strip which is purely bent, so this term is equal 0, then we have an attractive potential, and so we can assure the existence of discrete eigenvalues. So bent effect creates discrete eigenvalues, and the twisted effect doesn't create. So now I will talk a little about the Dirichlet-Neumann case. For this case, we needed to assume some more regularity conditions, and then the result is separated in two parts. In the first one, so here we assume that k theta is different from 0, and in this case we found out this asymptotic behavior for the values given by the minimax principle. So we see in this expression a similar expression as in the planar case that I showed before. And here, the interesting point here is that theta prime, the twisted effect, doesn't appear in this expression. So if k theta is different from 0, this effect dominates all the problem. And then, as before in the planar case, if k theta, I think I will skip to this other, no. If you assume that k theta assumes a negative value in some point, we can assure the existence of discrete eigenvalues. So in the second part of the result, so here we consider k theta equals 0. So in this case, we found out this asymptotic behavior, and now we have the twisted effect appear in the expression, and it appears as an attractive potential. This asymptotic behavior and this other one, both are obtained from a convergence in the norm resolving sense. And here I would like to compare some points. So here, in this case, the Dirichlet case, if k theta is equal 0, so if you have a twisted strip, we don't have discrete eigenvalues in a twisted strip. But if you consider Dirichlet-Neumann boundary conditions, in this part, we can see that we have discrete eigenvalues. So a twisted strip here in this model creates discrete eigenvalues. So you have these particularities. And then I think I put here both results to compare here. So here the Dirichlet case and the Dirichlet-Neumann case. I put here the case where k theta is different from 0. And just to finish, I would like to comment that in these words, we can use the method by Friedlander and Solomiak. But in the article that I commented yesterday from David, we can other possibilities to prove the result, and we can use the results from David. We can obtain a more elegant proof, so you can use both methods. And just to comment about other method that you can use in this kind of of the regions, I would like to mention gamma convergence. So it's a beautiful technique too. So here I saw this technique for the first time in this paper, where the authors considered a tube in R3, and they applied this technique to find out an effective operator. And so I don't have time to in details, but it's a very beautiful technique too. So I think I finished. Sorry, bye. Enfim, sorry. And thank you very much.